Moved and seconded. Any changes? I know we're adding an update and some discussion on the water situation. On number 5, where there was a placeholder, and the executive session is going to be postponed to the next meeting. Anything else? So all in favor of approving the agenda with the 2 minor changes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is approval of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there anything on the consent agenda anybody would like to speak to or call out?
It's just I abstain from the minutes.
Okay.
I have to abstain from the minutes too. I did read them pretty carefully, so I have some notes on some minor corrections. Do you want those?
Yes, please.
Okay. Line 178. There's a period and a comma after the 22,015. There's a period there. On line 200, there are 3 9s in the word similar. And 245, this is what happens when I actually really read them closely and don't skip over them. I think that's supposed to say the Adams Acres area. It says Adams Acres are, but I think it's supposed to be area.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry,
On the water part?
under the stormwater, I think, for
Line 245.
245. Yeah, the study is looking at 3 areas. I think it's supposed to be area. And then 465. Where am I? Sorry.
Futured.
Oh yeah, futured. Yeah. Yep. Thank you. That's it. They're very minor, but I just caught them because I wasn't at the meeting and was reading the minutes carefully. So, the other thing I had a question on in the consent agenda was related to the liquor and tobacco licenses. Midway gas station had just tobacco, and I was wondering if they should have a liquor license as well. I'm not sure which one that is. Midstate gas station on Court Street. Is that the Dunkin' Donuts or the?
Karen is here.
Okay.
That attachment.
Hi, Karen.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can. So,
Can you hear me okay?
yes,
Yes.
we can.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Midway gas station is applying separately. They will have liquor licenses as well. Because of the extra 3-month delay in the deadline for having liquor licenses come through that the state extended because of flood damage to businesses.
Okay.
All of these are coming in kind of just trickling as they're going. And I've spoken with, I think David about it and Crystal, and just said we'd agree that as they come in, we'll just keep adding them to the agenda so we don't get stuck with a ton of these all at once at the end. So yeah,
Perfect.
sometimes they're applying for tobacco and a month later we see the liquor come through. So it's all just gonna be a little different.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
No problem. I was just curious. So thank you for that explanation.
Sure thing.
That was it. That's
Thank you,
all I-
Karen.
And I do have to abstain on the minutes. I just,
Brought us into a higher level of
normally I get really good at
Publications,
just
yeah.
kind of going through them pretty quickly, but since I missed the meeting, I was reading them more carefully than I
You're
usually
there,
do.
you scan them. Anything else? Okay, hearing nothing else with the minor corrections to the minutes, all in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next is citizen comments. Is there anyone here for something that's not on the agenda? Hands up in the audience, in the virtual world?
We have Joe and Dana on
Okay.
audience.
And we'll move on to Bill and update on the water situation.
As much as I can. Bill Kernan, Director of Operations. I suppose that we could sit here and talk all night, but I think I mainly would like to answer questions. I do have some other stuff that I can talk about. First, I would just say there's been some misinformation and miscommunication out there, a little bit in the media, but also just with different voices, whether they be town staff or management or whatever. I'll take full responsibility for that. I'm your Director of Operations. I've worked to funnel information, and it's not a perfect world, but if there are any questions, please direct them to me, and I will try to stay informed. So we still have a good system. It's still intact. We still have issues. It's been relatively quiet because we have not gone after anything else. We're trying to do more methodical analysis on what needs to be done now. We still have some spots. We've had a couple of small breaks this week, but they've been in areas that were easily isolated, smaller pipes, so they didn't impact transmission mains and that kind of thing. I'm going to take another week to formulate plan of action, and then maybe the week after next, we will be back out if we're looking at stuff that we have to open up again. I would like to at least make the point. I know there's been some input from community members and business members, and I'd just like to say that we currently have the level of service that we have been funding. I mean, it's a pass-through system. The water department doesn't make money. The town doesn't make money. So if we need a better level of service, we're going to have to fund it through our rate structure. That's what it is. And I don't think we're different than any other community, whether it be in Vermont or the nation. We have stuff that has aged, and a lot of times when it's out of sight, it's out of mind until you need it. One of the big issues going forward that will help us probably the most would be we have a lot of inoperable valves in our system. So when I have a break, I'm having to extend my area of shutoff because we'll go to these valves and they don't work, and this valve doesn't work, so you end up continually going out. We also have a few dead ends. The most notable is Route 116, Mead Lane, and Lindale Trailer Park. And that's why that whole section of town was on boil water for so long, because there's no way to backfeed and keep water in the system while we were doing work. I haven't really talked to Emily about it. There is a possibility of maybe doing a loop off of Munger or something, but that's a big project like a lot of this stuff is. Currently, I mentioned valves that are inoperable. I don't have a count, but there's, dozens of them. Most of them in paved areas, and that's where a big expense comes in restoring pavement, especially if they're in a state highway. Currently, well 4 is off. It needs some unbudgeted work on a variable speed drive. And Palmer is always does a majority of the work, and it is showing, I won't say excessive wear, but premature wear, and that's just going to be a maintenance item that we have to factor in. So we're going to have to change out motors or pumps or whatever. We've already been through that a couple, 3 years ago. So it's all just building that into our maintenance budget. I tend to look at the positive here, and I think this was a good exercise to go through, as painful as it was. Everybody's looking at it now. And I would say, if anything, our system is better than it was, because we fixed a lot of weak spots that we were going to have to fix at some point anyways, and it condensed it. So we have new pipe in the ground. We have new couplings in the ground. We have, we know more about what valves don't work and what will need to be fixed going forward. I know Emily has working with a consultant on an asset management plan. It'll factor into this.
That's what it is. The asset management plan. That's
And
what moves us up higher in the,
Oh,
sorry.
yep,
I
no,
was trying to remember what it
Yep,
was called
yep.
earlier.
and we've also reached back out to Dufresne Group, who did our hydraulic study in 2018 to do some modeling for us. For when we have to attack this portion of the system or this portion of the system, what's going to happen hydraulically when we close these valves and stuff. I'm not sure what kind of information you're going to get back to us, but we're doing as much as we possibly can to reduce and eliminate what's already happened in the past month and a half as far as any extended outages and things like that. So I think that's mostly what I have to say. I would really love to answer questions, or if people have lingering things that have not been answered, or, I mean, Fred caught me on the way in and said he didn't really understand how a sudden release of water from a hydrant could actually cause a water hammer. I won't say I understand it 100%, but you know, there's things out there that we may not know, but from an operational standpoint, I think we're doing extremely well. This was not something that came about because of negligence or a problem that one of my staff or somebody did. This was totally out of the blue, and I give my staff a lot of credit. They're pretty weary. You can see it in their eyes. And we've slowed down, so hopefully I can keep that pace for a while. So,
Bill, I know there was a failure in communication on one particular one when we shut down. And just curious, our process going forward to ensure that we don't have that happen again.
yep, that was total human error on that one, and it was a breakdown in communication, and we ended up the reason it didn't happen. I'll back up. Our procedure has been, as much as possible, to individually deliver notices, knock on doors, contact people. That's a very onerous process, especially when you have a large area like we had on Route 116, Katy Road, Lower Foot Street, South Route. It was all, you know, very onerous. So on this particular one over here, we were just inundated with stuff going on, and notices did not go out. The initial dig happened, I'm pretty sure, on a Friday. Water did not get shut off because we found we did not have the parts, because this was just an old compilation of stuff that we needed to figure out. Should have had notice then, did not. Assume that notice had gone out when we went back on Monday to redig. So it got more complicated, and water was shut down at that point. So I've been looking, I've been talking with Crystal, who helps with the website and is working on our text messaging notifications, and we have email blast. So I'm looking to have a point source where if you turn your tap on and don't have water, go look here first. If you are in this area and we have something that we know is going on, sign up for these text messages, and you will know as soon as it happens. So I'm looking to refine the way that we notify, and it might be a form of self-notification. If you have, and it might be, you know, educational process for people to do that, but definitely looking at how we can fix that. And like I said before, going through this has been beneficial. So is that, even though it's unfortunate and painful for people that it's happened to, it shows us our weakness. And we've been reduced staff, and that's not an excuse. That's just saying we're half staff and still covering all the bases, and we're human, we're fallible. So,
And I would say, I know you guys are working hard and applaud everything you've done. And so it's not a critique of you. I'm just trying to verify that we have a process. I would be concerned about the self-notification when we talk about businesses that are reliant upon water, because we really need to be in the planning phase and try to notify a day ahead, unless it's a major fracture where you have to shut down like now, right? So a lot of them are a leak, and you say, okay, tomorrow morning we're digging that, unless it's this thing, you know, like what we've had on Court Street before, where it's bubbling out of the ground.
Yep.
But on the ones where it's a potential for a planned dig, where we have water-dependent customers, whether they be within our beverage industry, the hospital, the doctor's offices, all of that type of businesses, restaurants. I wonder, how do we ensure that we're coordinating with those, whether maybe we can use that same text messaging and get all the businesses to sign up, and you could triangulate, okay, these businesses are the ones going to be shut down. We're going to text them before we go home tonight, or send them a text, and then that we'll be digging first thing in the morning, and they'll be shut off for X hours or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know, is that conceivable that we can get to that?
It is,
point?
and I've been considering all of that, and I was thinking the exact same thing when I started looking at this. I thought to myself, well, there's going to be some businesses that we should probably contact direct. But then I got to thinking, well, how am I going to define that, and how is business A going to feel if business B is on that list and they're not? And so I think I really want to push the text thing. I don't know anybody these days that doesn't have a cell phone.
Especially business people.
Yeah, and we can also do a separate spreadsheet notification list by area. We can have people sign up, so we have all of their contact information. We have email, we have voicemail, we have the text and all of that. So it'll all be part of it, and we'll in the end we'll figure out what works best. And the text thing is pretty cool because Crystal, if this was a scheduled repair, Crystal can pull up a Google map. She can circle where the repair is going to be, and it will grab all of those text numbers. So it's not like you've got to go to a database or you've got to hand enter something. If she knows the start and stop points and the length and whatever it is, it's pretty cool. So
That's kind of what was sold to us, why we signed up for that text messaging.
yep.
Which is, I'm just trying to think through what are the pitfalls of some of the, and how do we anticipate and ensure that we have a system that.
Yep. So I've already developed
Satisfaction.
a notification form for my people to fill out, because what I also want is I want my people concentrating on the work before them, especially in an emergent situation. But that goes for a scheduled operation too, because you have traffic control you have to set up, you have dig safe you have to call, you have to figure out, there's things to do. So I've already created a form, and I'm going to circulate that through the people that have been involved in this, with Crystal and Beth and Patty and Tom Hanley, who's been spokesperson, and get their input put into it. And if anybody else has ideas or whatever, send them to me, and I'll listen and try to make the best mousetrap that we can.
I like the idea of a checklist too. I mean, when it's been routine and you've had a break here or there, I think everybody processes it and gets it all done. When you're overtired, understaffed, and having a lot of breaks, that's when you find those pitfalls.
Yep.
And I think the idea of a checklist and the idea of going to, location text. And when we signed up, did we sign up by address? That'll be the issue.
You can email Crystal C. Grant at townofmiddlebury.org and with your address,
Okay.
and she will match it
I
to
remember giving
you.
my address when I signed up.
Is
So
that different from the one that shows up on the website?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a text.gov. That's different, right?
So she'll just match your phone number with your location
Okay.
if you
Okay.
email her.
So then we'll just have to work hard at getting the word out about that process. But I think that would,
Yeah. So if you want to sign up for TextMyGov, you can just go right to the webpage, and there's a little button right there. And that'll get you right on our page, and then cgrant at townofmiddlebury.org to add your location. But there is a flyer in the packet and we'll make sure that that's prominently displayed across town.
That's what you're going to talk about also at town meeting.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay. First of all, thank you so much for all the hard work you guys did. There's no amount of thanks is enough. I've seen them work all night on the coldest night of the year on Katy Road. And I'm one of the people that I was on Airport Road and we were without water for a long time. It's concerning, but we do understand it happens. My question is about the texting service. How do you decide when to text? Like, is it one event or like, we have multiple shutdowns, like we had water one day, then we had no water, but I had only one text message for that. So do you do for every single time you shut down or?
It's something I think we'll need to refine. And I think there's maybe different levels of texting you can sign up for, depending on what's going on. I'm not sure. But it's all a matter of how often we want to put information out. And generally, if a situation is going to change, you're going to want to do that.
So for me, it was easier because if I didn't understand, I would call the public works department, talk to Patty, and she said, no, you won't have water till tomorrow or something. But some of my neighbors were asking, oh, I didn't get anything for this one. And I said, maybe they sent one and they think that until they fix it, you will have an interruption. So I didn't understand that either. I had only one text so far
Okay.
for this thing.
And I appreciate what you said about giving thanks and stuff, because I know you were in that area. That was,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I've seen you guys working too, Public Works, and they did an amazing job.
in that area, it was an extremely difficult area. Just because of the plumbing that's over there, where the valves are, the extent to which we had to shut it down. And we had multiple repairs that needed to be done, and we couldn't get them all done in one fell swoop.
Yep.
So it really got extended.
Thank you.
That airport road, I think, is in an old private line that the town has taken over too. So there's not any redundancy there. And
There's a private line?
I think it used to be. Anyway, sorry, getting in the weeds.
I currently, what's on our GIS is we own down Airport Road, and where it takes a 90, that part is private. And that too is a dead end. So, you have other issues with dead end lines and how much water flow is going through there and whatnot. But
No, I just want to make sure that we're coming into budget season for water and wastewater, that we know as much as you can about where things are at and how we need to adjust the budget. And
yeah, so I've actually asked for a sit down in April with infrastructure, hopefully to spend an in-depth. I don't need to monopolize the whole meeting, but we want to bring.
it's okay with me.
I won't have numbers as such, but a bigger picture of where we are and things that we need to be looking for the future, both in operations and from a capital standpoint. So.
Yep.
I don't want to monopolize it, but one other question. I received letters from three of the leaders of beverage industries down out in the industrial park. And they were talking about the shutdown from February 14th. And I wasn't quite clear about, they all alluded to there being ongoing issues there. And I guess I'm not quite clear. Are you aware of anything? I know we've talked about the need to loop that at some point or potentially. When we did our hydraulic study, it didn't make the top three priorities, as there were others that were more that were more critical.
Yep. Which some we've already fixed. Court Street and Washington were a couple of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I think the loop on Happy Valley is probably on Emily's radar. So it would be a great benefit. And as far as anything ongoing, I think they're probably just referencing the number of breaks and the potential for more. That's been posted on our website and it's been in the news. We all know that we're not out of this yet. There's nothing active over there that I know of. I've only seen 2 of those that you're talking about. One was on Exchange Street, and they were not without water, but definitely I spoke with Aqua Vitia a couple times on that one. That was an emergency break on Manelli. And then we had another break in the middle of the night up by Hard Cider. Both of those were able to be isolated at Manelli. So all of Exchange Street stayed on south of there. But the other portion up Industrial Lane, Pond Lane, all of that was off. So, and sometimes given our valving, even if we had a loop, you know, you're not going to be able to fix all of it. You're not going to be able to keep everybody on.
Yeah.
So.
And if we did that loop, would that open up water service to like a Happy Valley area that we looked at for potential future development?
I would think it would do that, and my hopes would be it would help with the line that goes up to what we call the Bristol Notch, which goes up to Munger Street also, because that has some fire flow issues and whatnot, and I would hope that looping that might be able to do something there hydraulically.
No, hydraulically, I don't know if that would help because that's only a 6-inch line. I think that one would have to get increased if you're really trying to.
And one last question on the water that I have. As part of your look through the water situation, are you going to look at just where we are in the prioritization on all of these and bring that back up to look at what our next 2 or 3 projects might be?
So when this started 3 weeks ago, whatever it started, I reached out to the state. So I submitted for state revolving fund, and that's what scores the point system for the additional storage on Chipman Hill, for example. And we didn't score high enough. I think we had 95 points last year, and the lowest funded project was 150 or somewhere in there, 165. They did come back with bypass funding, and they gave projects down to 135, somewhere in that level, funding just within the last 8 weeks. And so I did reach out to them and ask them if they could get us on bypass funding for some of these emergency projects. I'm still working through that with them. We might potentially get it for the water tank, which would be a huge asset because it would give us additional storage while we are doing these repairs.
Yeah.
I think the harder challenge there would be getting on a schedule for an actual company at this point. Most of them are already booked into next summer. But so that is one potential. I've also spoken with them about Foot Street, because if we could increase the capacity of the lower part of Foot Street to the 12-inch line, that would also greatly help create another avenue for major transmission. I reached out to them about Happy Valley and the main transmission line that we have a leak in. So there is an opportunity potentially to get some bypass funding. They don't have a huge pot, but there are some other avenues that we might be able to use.
Okay.
We don't have any of those projects engineered right now. Does that kind of put us lower on the scale for those?
Well, the water tank is engineered. Foot
Right.
Street's at 90%.
Okay,
The transmission line, the repairs that need to be made there would have to go through engineering, but that could also potentially be pipe bursting or cure in place as an avenue instead of it. The problem with that one is that it's in a very swampy area, so accessing it is
is that just north of Foster's there?
Yeah, the other problem with that is whatever we do needs to have a limited time frame. We need to do it as quick as possible, because any work on that's going to mean our primary well's offline. So you're relying on what you have in your reservoir and, you know, a little help from the Johnson wells. So.
Anything else? Anything else from you, Bill?
Not for now. Please feel free, email, cell phone, anything pops up, or if you have questions from community and whatnot, just pass them my way and
Well, thank you, and
Keep going.
please thank your team.
I will say one good note. I have a new employee starting tomorrow in the water department, so we're 3 of 4. So I don't have a 4th candidate yet. If you know anybody that wants a challenge, this is the place.
Was this the one you thought would join you?
I actually had 2. They were both perfect for where I wanted to put them. The other one decided to go with somebody else. So back to the drawing board on that. But they were both very good candidates. So he's excited. We're excited. And current staff is excited to get a little bit
Well, I bet
of
they
breathing
are.
room. So
You know what you're looking for, so people can listen to.
it's on the website, but it's a water distribution. It's going to be out in the field doing the physical work. There are some particulars. They don't have to have a water license. We'll work with them and get them certified and all of that. A good mechanical aptitude and some construction experience would be great. So, yeah, I mean, I got to believe there's got to be some people out there that work seasonally and they would rather have full time, especially, municipalities, great benefits, and especially if you live local and have a young family or something. So we'll get somebody, but I'm gonna recircle and go back out and advertise again, maybe some different avenues. So, but
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Next is Dana.
Yes.
Or wait a second, not 6, Dana and Joe, but then you get Kathleen. Do you want?
I'll promote them to panelists.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're after you. Next, Kathleen.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to hear some public comments on the issue that was just discussed?
Oh, there was. Well, he was here. Unfortunately, he just left.
But let me
Go
see if I
ahead.
can get him.
Sorry, we should probably make that known.
Yes. Thought you were, I saw you were listening to him, but you didn't raise your
Well,
hand.
I don't
So,
necessarily need to be Bill.
but he ought to hear them.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay,
Back up here?
Joe and
You
Dana,
can
please
just-
stand by. And
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
If you could come up actually, so that, because we need to transcribe everything that you say, and then there's people that are watching online as well, so.
Great. Well, thanks. My name's Jeff Weber. I represent one of the beverage businesses at the end of town, Aquavite. We sent you a letter. This is Bill Townsend, my landlord. We've been struggling with water issues for quite a while, and I absolutely commend the work Bill's doing. They're usually right on top of it, get it fixed right away, but it's very disruptive to our business. Every time we lose water, we have to send people home immediately because we have no sprinklers. They can't wash their hands. Product gets stuck in lines. Machines just stop, and we have to come in and reboot everything the next day. So it costs us tens of thousands of dollars every time we lose water. This last one, I think we've probably had over a dozen going back the last 4 or 5 years. And this last one, we were down for 5 days. So it was, really disruptive, as you can imagine. So orders can't be fulfilled. And when that happens, there's a ripple effect down the chain because we have to be, in retail at a certain time. We get penalized for not showing up. It just has a massive effect on business. So my thing is not here to criticize or discuss with Bill any of the work he's doing, because I think it's really fabulous how quickly they respond, considering how small their team is. Really, it's great. Communication when things are getting shut down ahead of time, or even if there's a break, getting an hour or two notice ahead of time could save us a lot of money because we could get things cleaned up and put away. So I would ask, and it's been addressed, cleaning up the communication there would be great. But today I'm here more to ask the select board to really prioritize funding of, fixing the system. Definitely. I know that it's an aging system. It's been going on for a long time and it feels like it's just continuing to get worse. So sounds like there's a budget meeting coming up for that. And we would really advocate that you prioritize fixing the infrastructure.
So we're April. When do we finalize the budget for water and wastewater? May?
we finalized it by June.
Oh,
the
by
end of
June. Because it goes into effect for July. Yeah. So I would would love to have you guys come and listen to the discussion. Just so you know, any repairs to the water system, that's all funded through the water budget, and all of that money is raised with rates. So what people pay for water when they use it. So it's a constant struggle on how much we should raise our rates and try to keep things affordable, and how much money we need to do some of these projects. So it would be great to have businesses there to be a part of that process and offer your thoughts.
Thank you.
We'll be discussing it at the May infrastructure meeting. May 2nd and 16th.
And Bill said he might be taking some time in the April meeting. So just maybe we can try to send some emails out when we have a better handle of what the agendas will look like.
Great. And the emergency declaration, is that just to help ongoing repairs, or is that more systemic about addressing the roof problem?
It was about the emergency repairs.
I think that got us access to some water, so we could give people some drinkable water, and hopefully it may generate some funding for repairs. So
Can I just make a couple comments in support of Jeff and Aquavati and other tenants that we have?
Can you state your name?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's Bill Townsend
Okay.
with Vermont Industrial Parks in
Yes.
Remora. And so we have a handful of properties in the area, businesses similar to Jeff's, that are impacted significantly when the water goes out. And the timing of this is interesting because I think it's easy to lump this in with the entire issue that's happened recently. And I'd be curious to get your perspective on this, Bill. But my perspective, as narrow as it can be sometimes, is that the Exchange Street area has been disproportionately affected over the last 7 to 10 years from other areas of the town. I wasn't aware of the prioritization lists that had been developed. That's actually pretty interesting. I'm curious if that looks at just the critical infrastructure issue, or if it also considers the economic impact issue of certain areas of town. Because I don't think that anyone could make a successful argument that any other area of town has a more significant economic impact when it's down than the businesses on Exchange Street. Inconvenience, maybe it's equal or more so in other places, but certainly from an economic perspective, that has huge consequence. And so I remember going to an infrastructure, I think it was maybe committee meeting 5-7 years ago. It was probably called something different then, to try to advocate on behalf of the businesses for this. So I know it's an issue that's been out there for a while. And again, I'm not trying to be dismissive of the fact that there's issues in other places of town that are equally concerning for the people that are impacted by those. But like Jeff, I'd just like to reiterate or, emphasize that it is having a significant impact on businesses. And I wouldn't like to think that businesses will, that's going to be a driving factor in determining whether a business locates in Middlebury or stays in Middlebury. But at some point it could be. And so I think it would be great if we could get ahead of it and prevent any of those.
And I do think, Bill, we should work with Fred Kinney to see if there's any of the economic development money available
That's a great idea.
to help.
So we'll relook at that priority list. I think that was generated, did Bill say, in 2018, I think, when we did the hydraulic study, and there were some areas of town that were higher on the list that we've been addressing the last couple of years. Washington Street, North Court, Pleasant Street, those big water projects we've done the last couple of years. And Exchange Street was near the top of the list, but not at the top of the list. And we've been, I think at that time in 2018, there was about $20 million worth of priority water main projects on that list. And that's a huge amount of money. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm sure that total is now pushing $30 million, $35 million, even though we've knocked a couple off the top. So I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten. It's just, we just can only do so much so quickly with the money that we have. So I remember, I heard all those conversations.
I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention that any interaction I have ever had personally with anybody in the public works department, especially in the water department, for the last 20 years has always been fantastic.
It's interesting you say just an hour or two to get everything cleaned and put up. Can make a big difference for you. I guess it's something we can take into account.
Yeah, I mean, even just like bringing in tankers sometimes, like we're gonna be down for extended period of times, we could produce with tankers. I mean, like under boil water, we have water in the sprinklers, but it's nothing that we can use in production. So,
Interesting.
other backup plans would be great.
Something we can work on going forward.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming back.
So much to do.
Hey, Kathleen, the discussion on the tax impact.
I really don't have anything to add from the discussion last time, but just wanted to
So
give you an opportunity to discuss more.
there are two of you that weren't here. Did you, in reading the notes, did you understand the
Yeah, I
thought
did.
process
Yep.
on that?
Yeah.
And any questions on that?
Now, I spoke to Kathleen after that, and I talked to Dana and Joe also. Yeah. I'm happy about that.
I thought it was interesting that the 10-year addition to the length of the bond really doesn't get us that much savings. I don't think it's worth it. Like it's not.
Yeah.
The amount of savings isn't worth the extra interest. I think if we can swing a 20-year, I think it's in better option in my opinion.
On that, Kathleen, if we had approval for 20 and then when we looked at it, we decided we wanted to go 30, can we do that?
So the process is you take it to a bond vote,
Yes?
and then we make an application to the bond bank, and we specify which term we want to.
Okay. So if we have the bond vote and approval for that, then we can
So we don't have
finalize
to
it.
have the duration on the bond vote?
Right.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on that? And I guess we'll go to Dana and Joe for discussion of amended MOU.
Yep, hi everyone.
Hi there,
Hi, Dana.
welcome.
So the first thing tonight is approving an amended, an addendum to the MOU with the Friends of the Library. That there's an existing memorandum of understanding between the library trustees and the Friends of the Ilsley Public Library, which of course are two separate entities. And that MOU was revised a few years ago, but it's been longstanding. As we undertake this capital campaign and we start soliciting and receiving donations, people need to write a check at some point. And we were advised by our fundraising consultants that people prefer to write checks to 501c3s as opposed to municipalities. That's what's preferred in the philanthropic community. So the Friends of the Library generously agreed to be our fiscal agent essentially. So folks will write a check to the Friends will deposit it into an account at the National Bank of Middlebury, and then once a month they'll move all the money over to the town. So this addendum to the MOU has been reviewed by the town's council. It's been signed by the Friends. It's been signed by the trustees. And what I'm requesting tonight is that the select board give Kathleen authority to sign it as well.
Any questions?
Kathleen, anything to add that I forgot?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll move to approve the proposed amendment to the existing memorandum of understanding between the Friends of Ilsley Public Library and the Ilsley Public Library trustees to facilitate the accepting and transfer of donations in support of library's ongoing capital campaign.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. So the next one they're going to talk about, we've got Carolyn Carpenter. I don't know if you can see her from your screen, but Carolyn's here from National Bank. Why don't you come on up, Carolyn? You should get some recognition for what the bank is doing. The bank should have,
Here to be supportive.
I know.
You and I are supposed to sign a document. I thought we could do it officially maybe or something.
This is a wonderful offer on the bank's part. So I'll let you go ahead, Dana.
Yeah, all right, well, it's wonderful that Caroline's there. Hi, Caroline, thank you for coming out to support us, and thank you for your support in making this possible. As I reported to the select board at the last meeting, National Bank of Middlebury has generously offered to let the library occupy the first floor of the Duke Post building without charging us rent. There's a letter of intent that I'm asking the select board to consider and sign as the next step in this process. I'm happy to answer any questions about that letter. Again, the town council has reviewed it. It basically says that the town is responsible for the cost of getting that space ready to be a library. I think the costs will be pretty minimal. We've done a couple walkthroughs and talked about things that we might have to do. Installing push bars on exits, changing locks, probably putting in an exterior book drop, things like that. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them. And thank you again to the bank. Oh, and I believe this would be followed up. Assuming the bond passes, the project moves forward, we would come up with a more formal agreement. I don't know what form that would take, but we have some time to figure that out.
Questions?
This is awesome. Just thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's amazing.
I want to say thank you also, but what's the size of the space?
Dana? You
I
must
don't
have
think
that.
I saw it in here. Maybe I missed it.
It's about 4,000 square feet.
And would that be sufficient for us, or do you need to find a secondary space for some of the things?
We need to find a secondary space for the bulk of the collection. So if anyone out there is watching or knows rental space, well, I don't know if Bill Townsend is still there, but or like a warehouse type space, or really any kind of space. Books are pretty forgiving and flexible. We need to find a storage space for the collection. And I think the staff will work remotely for the most part. We'll have probably 2 or 3 librarians in the building, and the rest of us will work remotely, and we'll kind of take turns being in the building.
So our ideal for that additional storage space would be somewhere large enough that we could lay the books out on shelves. And then if a patron came to the library located in the bank and requested the book, a librarian could retrieve it and bring it back in a day or 2. If we can't find a space like that, we'll have to box them up and they'll just go into storage and be inaccessible for a year or so. But just to add our thanks from the library trustees to Carolyn and the board of the National Bank. This is just an incredibly generous offer to the community, and the opportunity to have the library right smack on Main Street in downtown Middlebury is just tremendous. So we thank you.
Yeah.
Better not have any late library books. We're fine free, so it's totally fine.
Questions? If not, pleasure of the board.
I'll move to approve the draft LOI in between the town of Middlebury and National Bank of Middlebury for the use of a part of the Duke Close building at 30 Main Street by Ilsley Library as a temporary site of the library operations during the future renovation expansion of the 75 Main Street library site.
Second.
Oh, you can have it.
And with thanks.
I was trying to be fast, but you were faster.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I think
Aye.
all we have is a draft printed.
We
right?
have only a draft printed,
So
so
maybe
I'll,
I could bring one over someday and we could sign it in front of your staff and thank them at that time.
Something
We'll do that.
fun with this document.
Yeah.
I'll
A special
I'll
pen.
get on your calendar to come over. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's really great.
And one last thing for Dana and Joe.
Yeah, one more thing. So we are about ready to submit our application for the Vermont Department of Libraries capital funds. We're applying for $1.5 million, and I'm requesting select board approval to submit that, and also for the select board to sign a letter of support. It's a very structured, well, I guess all grants are a very structured application, but there's a rubric that says, you get this many points for this question and this many points if you can attach this kind of document. And one of the documents that we get points for is a letter of support from our select board. So that's why that's included. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that grant. It's the biggest one we're going for. So our fingers are crossed, and we should hear back, probably not before the bond vote, but probably shortly thereafter, we will hear back about that one.
I'll move to approve the submittal of the proposed grant application by the Islay Public Library and the accompanying letter of support from the Select Board to the Vermont Department of Libraries for $1.5 million in capital grant funding to support the proposed library renovation and expansion.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Great. And I'll just add that Dana has put in a phenomenal amount of work on this particular application, which is a little bit persnickety in some regard. I mean, we get penalized for not being, because our town's economy is in such good shape, we lose points for that. And because we didn't have flooding, we lose points for that. But we're pretty confident, or we think we have a good chance at this. So thanks to Dana for that.
Yeah, and I'll just take this opportunity to thank the select board as well for believing in this project and allowing us to get to the point where we can submit a truly competitive grant. We are shovel ready. We have the drawings, we have the schedule, we have everything that the application is asking for. And it's because you guys funded the work up till now. So thank you so much for helping us get to this point. I really appreciate it.
And I'll just note, I see the next item on your agenda is preparation for the town meeting, and we're grateful for the opportunity to present a little information after the other items on the agenda. And my apologies to Kathleen for a communication mix-up that cost her a lot of work that she didn't need to do. Sorry about that. This morning, the LC 100 project team had the chance to take a look at the very first cut of a video prepared by the REARC group. And we loved it in many ways, but we've decided it's not quite ready for prime time. We'd hoped to premiere it at the town meeting on Monday night, but we think it needs a little bit more editing. So you'll just have to listen to the two of us instead, but we'll get that out in a little while.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I was going to print out the letter of intent. I got Lindsay's email and it sent me into the circle of death.
Sorry.
So,
Sorry.
sorry. We'll have to catch up another time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Presentation for annual town meeting.
Yes, handed out a proposed schedule for a town meeting this is our typical format with welcome, overview, and introductions by Susan Shashak, our moderator. Town reports, introductions of the select board and town staff by Susan Shashak, and admitting non-residents to the meeting also by Susan. Then we'll have Andy Hooper doing the 2023 year in review on behalf of the select board, dedication of the town report to Ann Webster by Dan Brown. Thank you to Lindsay and the Robert E. Collins awardee by Isabel, since she does such a nice job with that. And thank you to our town retirees and Memoriam of Victor Nuovo by Farhad. I'll do the budget. Lindsay will do the Cross Street Bridge article, number 3, tax due dates, since Andy's going to be doing the heavy lifting as the chair of the board on that night. He gets the tax due dates. We're working on Heather to do the South Street Phase 5 bond and the Bakery Lane bond. She may defer to Andy Hooper, who did a nice job on the Bakery Lane bond. To be determined. Article 8, introduction to candidates for elected offices, and then the update from the Ilsley project library, the Ilsley Public Library project team. And then bringing up the rear is the town website update and Text My Gov by Laura Osterley.
Have you had many comments on the Newtown website?
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
yeah.
easy to find
It's been
things, isn't it?
well received, and I think that little important
Mhm.
news highlight right on the front
A little
page is
pop-up
nice.
there, yeah.
I think my first big email to the two of you was, how do I find things on the town website? Like that was my first complaint, I think, as a new member.
Yeah, it took a little while to get used to it, but now that I've figured it out, it's great.
Yeah.
I like the table where we find packet,
Oh,
you know, I like the way that's set up.
And there will be a presentation. I handed out the select board members pieces of that tonight. And I'll also, the full presentation will be up by the end of the day tomorrow.
Nice.
Okay,
I'm happy to cover those bond votes.
I
So,
think you should personally.
okay.
That's infrastructure and
Sure.
there may be questions and you'd be the most
Okay.
direct in answering them.
No, I just hope Emily's there. When I don't remember things. I will, I'm happy to do them. I just didn't know if it was something Andy, he's on the infrastructure as well. I didn't know if he wanted a chance to do some of those. So.
Okay. Any other questions on the town meeting? Hearing none, we'll bring Emily forward to discuss policy reform proposal.
That's, I like that little table.
So I'm here to discuss the potential of removing the requirement for bonding on paving specific projects. I met with the policy committee last week and sort of went through it. I wouldn't propose it. It's a little ironic. We were sort of jumping through the hoops to have it apply to this year's contract, but we put it out for advertisement and included a full depth reconstruction for the turning lane on Middle Road North, the southbound turning lane. So that would sort of kick this year's paving contract out of this conversation. So I think there's a little more time allowed than what we had initially anticipated when I was meeting with the policy committee. But essentially on straight paving jobs, I'm requesting that we remove the bonding requirement just because the paving process is such a superficial treatment and we'll have inspectors on site. And I've had contractors go back immediately and tear work out and redo it because it's so visible that there's flaws in it. I mean, you see it instantly. It's not like buried pipes that you don't know if a gasket has rolled or something in the installation and it slowly works its way to the surface as an issue. So I think it's a different application than most of our infrastructure projects, and it would potentially open the door for other bidders to be able to apply directly for projects or for our packages, and it might also change the product that we're getting. I know one of our local vendors uses all virgin asphalt, but they can't bid directly on our projects because they can't bond. So just as one example, virgin asphalt is typically a higher quality than asphalt, including a lot of RAP, which is what a lot of the larger producers making it for V-Trans would make.
Is there potential to save enough that you could divide out your bid for this year, that it would be worth looking at dividing out?
We can circle back on that. We have our pre-construction meeting tomorrow. We could definitely do it as a separate project. I think we still have time to do it that way. And we have it in there as a separate category anyway, so I think we potentially could.
But at least accept bids on the other part, less the turning lane, and see how that looks.
Yeah.
I read through it and it made a lot of sense to me.
Somebody from the policy committee said that it had been brought up previously, and it didn't go through, and I don't know the background on it. I don't know when it has been discussed before, but I think the way we have it written now, working with David and Kathleen on it, it's sort of on a trial at this point. So.
Any questions on it? Comments?
It was a great discussion at the policy committee last week. Everyone was involved in kind of wanting to learn more, wanting to dive into it. So it's definitely something that we're looking to take up on the committee.
This one's drafted for a several-year change, right? In 24, 25, or what was it?
This one, I don't know if I have the most recent. The one that I printed says the specific section of policy will remain in effect for a period of 1 year from the date of adoption.
Yeah, 24.
So it would get us through a whole cycle. Sort of the thought process is that still need the protection of a guarantee on the product to get you through a winter cycle. So as long as we have that in the contract language.
But your language was a 12-month warranty.
Yeah. So you would at least have that built into the protection, but it's really like the instant, as soon as you see it on the ground,
Yeah.
you know if it's going to peel up or not.
Who does the testing? Is it independent or is that something the town does?
It depends on the language in the contract.
So I think, if you're going to waive the bond, that should have testing. Similar to concrete or gravel compaction and a little bit of quality control.
You would write that into the specs. So,
Yeah.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll move to approve the proposed change to the town of Middlebury's bid and contract security policy related to roadway paving contracts.
Second.
Any comments on that motion? It's a 12-month trial. It gives us an opportunity to look at what that price difference would be. And obviously, given having to write your contract a little different, so that we are covered.
And so we do have some paving projects we'll do in that 1 month period to just see how it goes? Or is that what you're talking about, maybe possibly separating?
So I have one out for advertisement right now.
Okay.
That is scheduled to close on March 13th, so we can get it in front of infrastructure on the 14th.
Okay.
So I worked with Otter Creek on this contract, so I'll talk to Robert about it tomorrow and see.
Okay.
I think it's worth trying it as long as we have the capacity, because I think this has to go back to the policy committee, right?
I believe so. David,
there was some discussion about the process.
we want to see this again.
I think because of the time frame we initially spoke about, we were hoping to
paving season. But if that's no longer the case, then bring it back to now.
My understanding is we're approving this draft change.
Okay.
I guess my question is, will we have any examples in the 1 month period of implementing? If the contract's already gone out, we've already advertised that people would have to bond in that paving contract. I'm
Right.
just wondering if the year is going to give us, any example of,
Cost savings.
yeah, or of,
Like
if
the product of it, yeah.
if the year is enough in where we are in the bid cycles and work cycles.
So the way we have the advertisement written right now, there's just a note saying the town may decide to lift the bonding requirement. One thought was that we could do it as an alternate. So after the meeting tomorrow, we can change what we have presented and make all those.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm just worried that only a year is, should we consider looking at it for over 2 years?
It would probably help if we looked at it for
Over 2
longer.
years and
Maybe
then,
in 3 years, because we're still I think there's still a lot of fear in petroleum prices right now.
yeah, I was just, my only concern just is the short,
The short period of time.
that we may not really get a clear picture whether it makes a difference or not in only a year is my only thing. So,
Would you waive it for just one company or everybody bidding?
It's for everybody bidding.
For everybody
It's a change in
bidding.
policy.
for just those type of projects.
Just straight paving project.
What was the thought on why it was just a 1 year?
I think we were trying to capture at least one cycle of contracts for next year. But to your point, if the board's okay with it, having a little bit of a larger sample, I think will help everybody understand it. Comes from a sunset provision, so it can be, automatically clawed back if it doesn't work out the way I think Emily's envisioning it. But I think she's right. An extra year can't hurt to better understand its value.
Nobody made a motion, right?
We did.
We did,
We
okay,
haven't voted yet.
okay. Do we need,
Questions on the motion, but we would go back and need
Propose.
need an amendment to the.
did I make that motion?
Heather and Isabel.
That was 10 minutes ago, I can't remember.
Friendly change, and I'll second it again.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the proposed change with allowing 3 years. How's that? 3 years for the town to see the impact on proposal. So in 3 years, we revisit that request.
Second.
Are we clear what we approve? Okay. Any other comments or questions on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We have our 2 candidates for select board here. I'm thinking that
have all
if
3
you
of
would
them.
like to each come forward, because there are people watching on TV, and, well, 2 new candidates, and the third, everybody knows Farhad. But maybe just, if you wanted to introduce yourselves to the listening audience, so they have a face to go with the name and
Come on.
Is there anybody listening?
We have a huge audience.
We have one audience.
One more person.
no, those are on the Zoom.
I think more people watch than we.
Yes,
So
yes.
it gets run more than
Forever and
once.
always.
All right.
Hi, my name's Travis Forbes. I'm running for select board for a 3-year term. Appreciate your vote.
My name's Fred Dunnington. People can read about me in the Addison paper. Just the 30-year-old picture they put in. Current when they, I didn't buy an
Have your
ad,
photo.
current picture. I don't look like that anymore.
Okay, well, and then we know that Farhad is running for reelection.
Should I say something or?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. I've been very blessed to be on the select board with 6 of my wonderful colleagues for the past 7 years. Thank you so much for all the support, and I'm hoping you support me or these two fine individuals, 2 of the 3 of us. And thank you for all the support so far.
And there will be, there's 2 seats. And the reason why there's 2 is because Lindsay has decided to not run for reelection, to give somebody else an opportunity and to pursue her lifelong dream to play the banjo. And so, Lindsay, I want to just thank you for everything you've done for the town of Middlebury. And
Thing else picked up my middle. It's fine. There's no head. It's just the body. Thank you so much.
well, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Lindsay.
for anyone listening, this is a wonderful group of people to work with, and we are only as strong as the candidates running. So thank you both for stepping forward. And yeah, it's been a lovely time, and I've learned something from everyone. And I will miss it a little bit, but I'll also enjoy my nights at home.
So Lindsay has 3 children of school age. And so now her kids will get to see her more. And I'm sure she's given very generously of her time, working on committees, getting some of our projects moving forward. Not the least of which was our diversity, equity, inclusion. And we thank you for everything you did to contribute.
Well, thank you.
Hey, Lindsay.
Thank you, Lindsay. Yay.
We had a farewell dinner for her this evening, and it was very tasty.
It was.
Leftovers you can probably take home to your
Oh,
kids.
hey.
Indian food.
Yeah, it's good.
Next is approval.
Thank you, guys.
Of the check warrants.
Yep, I have done that check reviews and everything seems to be okay. So I move to approve total expenditures in the amount of $819,423.79, consisting of $692,693.45 for accounts payable and $126,730.34 for payroll for the period of February 14th, 2024 through February 29th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, select board member concerns. Farhad?
Yeah, I was going to announce my candidacy this time, but I was rejected, so I'm not going to do that again. I don't want that advantage over you, but I want to encourage everybody to sign up for the texting service. It's so important that it's going to only get better when everybody signs up. And I want to thank the water department again for all the hard work they did, because I drove back and forth on Katy Road and Lower Foot Street, and one night, I'm telling you, about like 10 degrees at night, and all night they were working hard there, trying to fix the problem. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, Farhad. Isabel?
I wanted to give a shout out to one of the high school teachers, Tara Martin, and the school board student representative, Eddie Fallis. They did a high school senior voter drive, and they registered 80 seniors in the past 2 days to register to vote on Tuesday. So they've got some kids who are already 18, and then in the state of Vermont, if you're 17 but you're going to be 18 by November, you can vote in the primary. So they have a lot of kids who are going to be showing up on Tuesday to vote for the first time. Very cool.
Oh, that's good to know, because
She
my
was
son could register
Mhm.
then.
Yeah.
Oh, my kid can register
Yeah.
then. I thought, yeah.
Yeah, and you can
Oh,
you
wait,
can
no,
vote
you
as a 17-year-old in the primary if you're going to be
Did she
18
tell
for the
Did
general.
she tell you how many? She was at the store yesterday telling me she registered.
Yeah, yesterday was 50, and then today she posted on her personal
About 80
social
so
media
far?
about 80
Yeah.
plus. high school seniors. And thinking about like how big the senior class is, like that's a big bulk of them.
They can swing,
awesome.
they can swing the vote.
So we've had having some conversations at work about AI, and recently came out with a policy at work around AI. And one thing I was thinking of in all the recent work of the policy committee is for maybe the town to take up the issue of AI and how it will be used in town across the town, like how it will get used. So where I work, they've rolled out a couple of programs preliminarily and evaluating other programs, but it's growing exponentially, as some of you may be aware. So it might make sense to get on top of it and think about it a little. There is one program, I'm going to draw a blank on the name, I'm sorry, that you can send to meetings, and it will send you back a transcript of the meetings. And I think that for minute taking, I know we do recordings, but there might be some potential there that could save us some time in looking at some of these programs. So I think it's worth the policy
That
committee.
could be particularly useful for some of our smaller committees that don't have a dedicated staff person to
Yes.
prepare their minutes.
So that was just one thing I was thinking about, and I think getting some education out there too is good, because I think, at least for me, when I hear AI, all I can think about is the Terminator movies, and it's not necessarily like that. So I think there could be some good benefits if it's evaluated carefully, and maybe the tech company could also make some recommendations for where AI might be able to help the town too.
Interesting. I'm just recently trying to get knowledgeable on it, like the chat GPT and stuff.
I think that meeting one sounds really interesting. You send it to your meetings, and it comes back with a transcript of the meetings for you.
Do I go to class?
I know,
anymore?
right? So when I'm not here next time, I can send AI to the meeting for me. Anyway, I think it's something the town ought to consider getting in front of.
No, that's smart.
Lindsay?
I was just going to encourage people to come to town meeting.
Yes, great.
If you are somebody who has come before, consider inviting somebody, especially if you know a young person. I think we're all responsible for helping the younger generation learn how the town works and how democracy works. And if you've never been, you should come. It is, despite what you hear on the news, this is a place where you can literally have your voice heard in real time by people making decisions. And it's a really important piece of our town. And I would just encourage everybody to come, and then obviously come out to vote also on Tuesday.
Yes.
And thank you all for wonderful 6 years.
Yay, Lindsay.
And I will miss you. I know I was joking earlier, but I will miss this.
She was not serious about it.
I will miss it. I will be happy to have a little bit of time back, but I will miss seeing all of you a few times a month. So, but I know everything's in good hands, and I look forward to seeing all the good things, all the wonderful water projects we will have going, and all the new paved sidewalk and all the things.
Stormwater.
I have a greater appreciation for all the little things that you don't really think about until you're one of the people making those decisions. So
A lot of work goes into it.
it is a lot of work by a lot of very wonderful people.
Thank you,
So-
Lindsay.
Yeah, thank you so
Lindsay.
much.
And I just want to thank you again. I think we've had a lot of big projects during the time you've been on the board, and the fact that we all worked so well together speaks for everybody. But it's enjoyable to have had such a great team. So,
For sure.
Guess I'll seek a motion of adjournment with nothing else.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh my goodness.
I know, this is great.
It's not 10 o'clock.